Going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're excited to see the Dallas Cowboys take on the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. Rivalry game, prime time. It's the last game of the week. Everybody's going to be watching. It's going to be a lot of fun, and obviously we have a lot of things to get to when it comes to that game. But for now, we wanted to kind of look back at the first 2 weeks briefly and celebrate a particular, handful of players because the Cowboys have been dealt with a really bad hand on the injury front 2 weeks into the season. It's remarkable how many things the Cowboys have had to overcome. Again, just 2 weeks into a marathon of a season. And the Cowboys have had to play some players that we didn't anticipate having to play, certainly at least this early in the season. They've had some players that have really shined that we certainly thought highly of or thought some things of, but that have really particularly impressed. So today, we're going to be talking about 5 players that have surprised us so far on this young season. And I think it's appropriate to start with somebody who got an opportunity because of a suspension. Terence Steele, obviously not somebody who we expected to be playing right tackle this early on in the Dallas Cowboys season. But again, Lyle Collins suspended for now 4 more games after the first last week. And, a week ago when the Cowboys were insisting that he was going to be their starting right tackle, and I say the Cowboys, it was really Jerry Jones who was the only one telling people that Terence Steele was going to start. We all were panicking, to be honest. We all were saying Zach Martin needs to start at right tackle, move Connor Williams over to right tackle, play Connor McGovern at left guard. And to be fair here, the Cowboys believed. The Cowboys were really the only people, the people at the Star in Frisco were the only ones who thought that Terence Steele was going to be somebody who did take a leap in year 2. We know that he was an undrafted free agent last year out of Texas Tech and was handed kind of a bad hand that year as well, with Lyle Collins missing all of it. No undrafted free agent rookie generally plays, let alone at tackle, let alone to a starting degree. But Terence Steele, battled through and, made it a point to improve over the offseason, and I think it's really obvious that he did. You take a look at this particular play against the Los Angeles Chargers last week, and Steele, you don't see him there because the camera moves out of frame to follow Tony Pollard, but did a great job, as you know, handling Joey Bosa. This is something that we thought was impossible, to be quite honest with you. Let's take a look again as the replay moves over. Look at Terence Steele. That's Joey Bosa, who he's handling with relative ease. I mean, this is just a really impressive statement from Terence Steele. And again, really indicative of the fact that he put in so much work over the course of the offseason. We'll take a look at another play here and you watch. I mean, it looks so natural for him. He really has improved so much. A big part of the reason why Tony Pollard springs loose for a big gain here. Incredible job by Terence Steele, and really an incredible job by the Cowboys, Joe Philbin, believing in him, working with him. Just hands away. I was going to say far and away, hands down at the same time. Hands down, a great song by Dashboard Confessional, by the way. Far and away, the most impressive player through 2 games so far this season for the Cowboys, because again, none of us really believed. Now, number 2, JAYRON KEARSE. This is somebody who, when the Cowboys signed him this past offseason, I think we all thought, okay, they're just kind of handling safety the way they have before, just picking up guys off the street, not really doing anything. We've all obviously wanted to see them spend a high draft pick on the position, go get a big-time free agent. JAYRON KEARSE, somebody who didn't necessarily surprise a lot of people, and obviously the topic of this conversation today is surprise players, but the name was somebody, to be honest with you, I didn't think was going to make it through camp. I thought JAYRON KEARSE was just going to hang out through mini camp, through OTAs, through training camp, and probably be cut after the preseason was over. But JAYRON KEARSE made this roster and almost made an incredible play. In fact, I would argue did make an incredible play against the Chargers. If you're going to call, handsy, pass interference-y stuff earlier in the game, you can't call, or, if you're going to let things like that go, rather, you can't call this. I get it if you're going by the letter of the law here, working against Jared Cook, not like we have terrible memories there. But JAYRON KEARSE, penalty or not, this is a great play and great heads-up awareness to go and get that ball. This should have been a turnover for the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys currently, actually, by the way, have the most turnovers in the NFL with 6. It should be Monica Geller, 7. Shout out to JAYRON KEARSE, but he wasn't done. Right after this play, JAYRON gets in on the action here and makes an incredible... How often have we seen this? Have we seen a Cowboys player, forget DB, forget safety, how often have we seen a Cowboys player wrap up single-handedly, all by themselves, a one-on-one tackle situation in general, let alone against an incredibly elusive player like Austin Ekeler? And you look at Ekeler, gets out. This is normally a 12, 15-yard gain, but this is JAYRON KEARSE's time, and he is here to make sure that that is no longer the case for the Cowboys defense. So an incredible job by him, and really a great example of somebody the Cowboys found in free agency. It was obvious that they were going to go out and get Keanu Neal. It was obvious they were going to go out and get DAMONTAE KAZEE because of the connections to Dan Quinn. But the Cowboys found JAYRON KEARSE, found him for pennies on the dollar, relatively speaking, as far as other prices for other free agents go. And 2 games in, I realize the sample size is incredibly small. It's literally about to grow by 50% after Monday night's game. But 2 games in, he looks incredible. We had a podcast this week on the Blog of the Boys podcast network. The guys from Talking the Star talked about all of the depth the Cowboys have. I'm getting notifications left and right here at the safety spot. JAYRON KEARSE goes a long way in that capacity. And so great job by the Cowboys having one option there. Another, I mentioned him a moment ago, DAMONTAE KAZEE. This was somebody who obviously has had success in his career generating turnovers, and somebody who, you know, people were excited about because of the Dan Quinn connection, because of the past and whatnot. But the past was a long time ago for DAMONTAE KAZEE. And so people wondered whether or not it was something that was going to continue to translate during his career with the Dallas Cowboys. We take a look at week 1, and this is not necessarily the biggest thing to me, but I love this. Ultimately, this is DAMONTAE KAZEE getting his helmet on the ball and ultimately popping it loose. Jordan Lewis runs, brings it back. This was a critical, pivotal moment for the Cowboys against the Buccaneers in week 1. DAMONTAE KAZEE, find your man, bam. And look, if that's not a fumble, it's still a tackle and still a nice play. I don't want to take that away from him. I don't know that he's trying to turn that ball over, but that's great technique, great opportunity you're creating. You don't know if that's going to ultimately happen, but it does because Chris Godwin is loose with the football. And ultimately, DAMONTAE KAZEE gave his team a chance to win that game. So congratulations to him. His graphics still deserving to be up here on the screen. Let's get DAMONTAE off, and let's talk about what DAMONTAE did. Look, this one, I'm not, you know, like I really don't want to sound like a hater, but this interception against the Chargers, this is a bad ball by Justin Herbert. But still, these types of things happen. And they happen when you put yourself in the right position. And I love the heads-up awareness from DAMONTAE to fall back into the end zone. We talked about this on the post-game show. Huge shift there in positivity. Huge shift in field position. If DAMONTAE KAZEE takes one more step, the Cowboys get the ball on the 1 or 2 yard line. Maybe he shakes a tackle and gets out to the 5 or 6. Who knows? But seriously, I mean, nobody's there. So bad throw by Justin Herbert, but great veteran awareness to fall back into the end zone, give your team the ball at the 25-yard line. Great job by DAMONTAE KAZEE. So we're now over halfway there. The Dallas Cowboys, once again, getting some really surprise performances. We've talked about players that are not all new to the Cowboys. TERENCE STEELE, obviously part of this team last year, but JAYRON KEARSE, DAMONTAE KAZEE additions this offseason. This one, look, I'm not saying you're going to disagree, but this is not somebody who's new or even relatively new to the team. But Connor Williams, all right, now the reason I think Connor Williams qualifies as a surprise for the Cowboys this season is because he's kind of been underrated, isn't the right way to put it, but overlooked might be the right way to put it, because, you know, it's hard for Connor Williams to make a name for himself on an offensive line that when he joined the team, at least, you know, had Tyron Smith and Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, and Lyle Collins. And what's hard about that is everybody expects you to come in and be that, because the Cowboys had and still sort of have this history of finding incredible offensive linemen, turning them into Pro Bowlers and All Pros. Everybody expects that. That's the expectation of Connor Williams from day one. He has started from day one for the Dallas Cowboys. He was the only offensive lineman to make it through all of last season. And a lot of people have been, you know, wondering what's the deal with Connor Williams. The Cowboys had their experiment at center this preseason period that didn't exactly work well for him. And I think that kind of soured people on Connor Williams, but he's been fine. I mean, and I think that is worth saying. Connor Williams has been a big point of stability on the Cowboys offensive line that, again, right now is already kind of a little bit in flux with obviously Lyle Collins' suspension. But Connor Williams, again, these are small moments here, but does a great job of protecting the left side of that line. Not the biggest gain there, but again, I think people really think he's bad. And I'm not here to say he's great, but Connor Williams has really, in a time, you know, counting the last 365 days or so, where the Cowboys offensive line has seen so many different changes, Connor Williams has been solid. He's been one of the better, more stable parts of this team, and that's worth celebrating. That's what we're here today to do, to talk about the 5 most surprising players. So in some way, I think we're all surprised that we're not upset about Connor Williams, if that makes sense. You know, hey, we're Cowboys won last week. Positive vibes. Don't rain on the parade here. Last one, and maybe you'll say this isn't a surprise, but look, we need to talk about him. Osa Odighizuwa. I mean, the Cowboys have had to operate without Neville Gallimore, and I don't think any of us have really even thought about that, right? Since he got hurt against the Arizona Cardinals in the preseason. We've all talked about Micah Parsons plenty because he has come out with a full force, and we thought about making Micah a member of this list, but I think we all had expectations, and I think we definitely had expectations for Osa. I missed the microphone when I went to move it. That's embarrassing, but we had expectations for Osa, but I think that when rookies come in the way Osa did, and when they impress in the preseason, again, talking specifically about rookies, I think that we all have this natural tendency to not believe, right? Like we think, oh, it's just a preseason, that's not going to translate to the regular season. He's going to come down to earth a little bit. It's the NFL. It's a different game. It's faster. It's harder. It's more difficult, etc. But Osa has really not missed a beat since the regular season began. Take a look again. I mean, obviously the Cowboys getting incredible production from Micah Parsons, but Osa is there. Osa is a huge reason why the Cowboys pass rush and really the defense as a whole is stable. We've talked so much about this defense just needs to be average. This defense just needs to generate a couple of turnovers. They've done that, and they've done that against elite quarterbacks in Tom Brady and Justin Herbert. And a big reason for that is the interior of the defensive line. Carlos Watkins isn't going to play for the Cowboys on Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles. Brent Urban has been a nice addition as well. But Osa, for a rookie, has come in and has really impressed in a way that I think we still thought was kind of impossible. I mean, he is just that disruptor. But that's what we have wanted to see, what we've ached, what we've longed to see from the Cowboys along the interior of the defensive line. He has been somebody who, along with Micah Parsons, is making a notable, sizable impact so far. Again, 2 games into this incredibly young season. So is Osa, one of the best defensive players on the Cowboys at the moment? Yeah, I think he is. I think if you're ranking the best defensive players on the team, Micah Parsons is number 1, Trayvon Diggs is number 2, and I think there's a conversation to have about Osa being 3 or 4. And so that to me is surprising because I had hope, and I know you did too, that what we saw in the preseason was going to translate in some way, shape, or form through the regular season. But I still don't think that any of us really thought that he was going to play at a high level, at least at the very beginning of the season. We thought maybe it will take time for things to kind of materialize for him as he catches up and gets, acclimated to the NFL game. But Osa is coming out not with the full force of Micah Parsons, but for a 3rd-round pick, for somebody who is playing because the Cowboys starter is hurt in Neville Gallimore, and not just Neville Gallimore, but Tristan Hill obviously still unavailable to the team. The fact that Osa has come in, he has made a really awful situation along the interior of the defensive line from an injury standpoint. He's kind of mitigated that, and that is more than just surprising. That is a really nice bonus that the Cowboys have gotten early on. You're going to have these injuries. We talked about the Cowboys obviously being without so many different players, and so your roster depth is going to be tested. Mike McCarthy has mentioned many different times how many players it took to win the Super Bowl for the Green Bay Packers in 2010, and I think that we all obviously think that, that's going to happen through the normal rigors of an NFL season, but I don't think any of us envisioned this being this difficult for the Cowboys from an injury perspective this early in the season. Again, we're at week 3, and the Cowboys have had multiple people who have been put on injured reserve. They've gotten a suspension. They've had multiple people who have been unavailable to them for being on the reserve COVID-19 list. I mean, there are a lot of things that are happening with this team that they continually have to deal with and adjust to. And the fact that they're having these players kind of jump in the lieu of those things, like your Osa Odighizuwas, but that they're also having players who remain stable for them, like your Connor Williams has really given them an ability to be trusted by us. I think we all trust the Cowboys to beat the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football, and it's because the depth of this roster is of a higher quality than it's been in other years prior to 2021. So that's a really exciting thing. Congratulations to Terrence Steele, JAYRON, KEARSE, DAMONTAE, KAZEE, Connor Williams, Osa Odighizuwa, clearly winning the highest possible honor that you can, which is to be named a surprise player 2 weeks into the season by Blogging the Boys. We are Blogging the Boys. Obviously, if that was not obvious, please do subscribe here to our YouTube channel. We have daily updates where we give you kind of a 101 in about 5 minutes or less on what's going on in the world of the Dallas Cowboys. We have live streams that come out. We have a preview show coming up for the Cowboys-Eagles game. We have a Madden simulation. Madden was wrong last week, predicted the Chargers to beat the Cowboys, and look at them, how stupid they are. So we've got all that coming down the bend this weekend, so make sure you do subscribe here to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. Make sure you check out bloggingtheboys.com where you can see myself and everybody else on staff. I'm RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa. Make sure you subscribe to the Blog on the Boys podcast network. We have shows that come out every single day because we know that things are constantly happening, constantly changing, constantly evolving in the world of the Dallas Cowboys, if that wasn't obvious already, because it's week 3 and there have been so many different things that happen to this team. Football's crazy like that. So the season's here. The Cowboys are 1-1. They're about to get to above 500 with a win over the Philadelphia Eagles. Good times are coming, people. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.